Hi everyone, welcome to Monday. This is going to be a wonderful week. You know how I know? Because you're alive, you're breathing, and you're ready to get started. So last week we started the Glimpses of Destiny show and we went through Monday through Friday, and this week we're going to do the same. And last week, it was our kind of getting acquainted segment. So we talked about getting started, removing the boundaries, what's your pain, what's the resolution, and then on Friday we talked about spring cleaning. And so in that same vein, kind of, I want to talk today about paying your vows. Now, it's important that when you start to get into business for yourself, that you understand that you're going to be making some promises to people, that you're going to be dealing with your clients, your customers, individuals that will want to do business with you or that you need to do business with, and your word has to be bond. And I know sometimes we get so caught up in the fast lane that we say things and we really intend to do them, but life just happens and it slips off the plate or it falls off the plate, and then we feel bad about it, but we don't ever go back. And when it comes to our remembrance, we don't ever go back, or most of the times we don't go back and take care of it. And so in doing business, in living your life, in succeeding, and being the type of person that you were created to be, it's important today that we journal about the promises that we've made, the vows that we've made. I'm reminded of a woman. Actually, I'm reminded of two people in the Bible. One was a woman. Her name was Hannah, and she made a vow because she wanted a son, and she made a vow to God and said, "If you give me a son, I will give the son back to you." Now that right there is a true test, because if you've never had something and then you ask God for it and he gives it to you, it's going to be hard to give that up because that's something that you've wanted all your life. But she paid her vow and God gave her more kids. And so sometimes you need to put a vow on the table. You need to say, if you will do this for me, then I will. And you say what you're going to do and then keep that, not just to God, but to the people, because sometimes that's all it takes for them to remember you over your competitor, to remember you over the next person, is that when she said she was going to do something, when he said he was going to do something, he did it. Even though I know that it cost him something. I'm reminded of David, who, when he went to buy a field, they said, no, we'll just give it to you. He said, no, I don't want to give God something that didn't cost me something. See, a vow is going to cost you something. It's going to take away from you, but in the end it's going to add more than it could ever take from you. So remember, keep your word. Your word is bond. We always say that my word is bond, but let's make our word be bond. Let's keep our word this week. Let's if we say we're going to do something, if we said we were going to do something in the past, I have some things that I have to go back, even a year ago, and say, you know what, I never did this. Let me go ahead and do it now, because I kept saying I was going to do it. And so regardless of what happened, regardless of why I didn't do it, I need to get it done. And and they may or may not appreciate it. But the thing is, I kept my word, even though it's late and all of that. And some might say it's too late. It doesn't matter. I have to keep my word, because at the end of the day, they're going to say, you know what, it might have took her forever to get it, but she did it. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that you keep your word. And yes, if it's like me and it's been a year, you want to say, hey, look, I know it took me a while to get it to you, but I'm getting it to you because I said I would. You don't have to. Sometimes you have to go into the ins and outs of why it happened, but most of the time, just because I said I would. So here it is. Sorry it's late. You know, really am. But I wanted to keep my word because you're that valuable to me. And you'll see how things begin to change in your life. You'll see. The other person that I'm reminded of, let me give you that one. I'm sorry I can't remember his name, but he was a warrior in Israel. And he went to war and he told God, if you allow me to win this battle, the first thing I see when I return home, that I will sacrifice to you. And lo and behold, the first thing he saw, he won the battle. When he got home, the first thing that came out to him was his only daughter. And he had to sacrifice his only daughter. So he gave her, like, I don't know, I think it was 30 days or 3 months, something like that, to go and live in the hills. And when she returned, she was his sacrifice to God, because he said, the first thing I see, I will give it to you. And so, like I said, sometimes it's going to cost you something. Sometimes the vows we make them in the heat of the moment, and keeping it is going to really, really take a lot out of us. But I tell you, I have found over this past weekend, I made a vow to the Lord and I kept that vow. And it was something remarkable when that vow was exchanged. I said, God, if you do this for me, then I will do this. And I did it. Wow. And you know, and some people say, well, you know, that was to God. Yeah, it was to God, but I still did it, and it cost me. It cost me a lot. But the one thing, and I'm going to end on this note. When you give the vow, if you make it in the heat of the moment, that means you're talking real talk. You know what I'm saying? When you're talking to your client, when you're talking to God, when you're talking to your family, whoever it may be, when you give it in the heat of the moment, that's real talk. You're saying, look, if you allow me this one opportunity, then this is what I'm going to do for you. That's real talk. That's real talk. Come on, somebody. And so what you want to do is you want to go ahead and do that. But in the end, you don't want to regret that you did it. So give it and let it go. And watch how more will come to you, more than you can ever imagine, more than you can ever hope for, more than you can ever believe. Okay? So let's do that. Remember, be blessed and encouraged. Those that can see the invisible can achieve the impossible. Until tomorrow, bye-bye.